Шановні пані та панове, їх високоповажності президент України Володимир Зеленський, президент Європейської ради Шарль Мішель та президент Європейської комісії Урсула фон дер Ляєн. Розпочинаємо церемонію підписання. We commence this signing ceremony. Прем'єр-міністр України Денис Шмигаль, посол головуючий в ЄС Словенії в Україні Томаш Менцін та віце-президент Європейської комісії, високий представник Європейського Союзу із закордонних справ та безпекової політики Жозеп Борель підписують угоду між Україною з однієї сторони та Європейським Союзом і його державами-членами з іншої сторони про спільний авіаційний простір. Денис Шмигаль, Prime Minister of Ukraine, Tomáš Mencin, Ambassador of Slovenia to Ukraine, Presidency in Office of the Council of the European Union, and Josep Borrell, Vice President of the European Commission, are signing common aviation area agreements between the European Union and its member states of the one part and Ukraine of the other part.
Thank you so much.
Міністр освіти і науки України Сергій Шкарлет та віце-президент Європейської комісії, високий представник Європейського Союзу із закордонних справ та безпекової політики Жозеп Борель підписують угоду між Україною з однієї сторони, Європейським Союзом та Європейським співтовариством з атомної енергії з іншої сторони про участь України у рамковій програмі з досліджень та інновацій «Горизонт Європа» та програмі з досліджень та навчання Європейського співтовариства з атомної енергії 2021-2025, комплементарні до рамкової програми з досліджень та інновацій «Горизонт Європа». Сергій Шкарлет, Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, and Josep Borrell, Vice President of the European Commission, are signing agreement between Ukraine of the one part and the European Union and European Atlantic Energy Community on the other part, on participation of Ukraine in Horizon Europe, the framework program for research and innovation, and the research and training program of the European Atomic Energy Community 2021-2025, complementing Horizon Europe, the framework program for research and innovation. Віце-прем'єр-міністр з питань європейської та євроатлантичної інтеграції України Ольга Стефанішина та віце-президент Європейської комісії, високий представник Європейського Союзу із закордонних справ та безпекової політики Жозеп Борель підписують угоду між Україною та Європейським Союзом про участь України у програмі «Креативна Європа» на 2021-2027. Olga Stefanishina, Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic Integration of Ukraine, and Josep Borrell, Vice President of the European Commission, are signing agreement between the European Union and Ukraine on the participation of Ukraine in the Creative Europe program for 2021-2027. Церемонію завершено. The ceremony is concluded. Заява президента України. Statement by the President of Ukraine.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Esteemed President of the European Council and of the European Commission, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear journalists, dear guests, I bid welcome to Mr. Charles Michel and Madam Ursula von der Leyen in Ukraine for the first time within the framework of the summit. We have gathered here, the three of us, in the full format. Despite the challenges related to COVID-19, we give preference to live dialogue, which grows more intensive and substantive year by year. The 23rd summit has outlined our common achievements and common positions with regard to political association and integration of Ukraine into the EU's internal market. We have had a detailed discussion on the progress and the implementation of the association agreement. It has become the driving force behind European integration reforms and has brought our bilateral partnership to a new level. Its ultimate goal is full integration of Ukraine into the European Union. We expect here that the leadership of the EU and member states will be brave and forward-looking. This is a clear signal and perception of Ukraine as an enableable part of the European area, granting a European prospect to Ukraine which has common values with the European Union in accordance with Article 49 of the Treaty on the EU is a logical and awaited step. For achieving this goal, Ukraine will work persistently with all partners and nations of the European Union. We have achieved tangible progress since the 22nd summit. After 8 years of bureaucratic red tape, we have finally signed a common aviation area agreement. This is a high standard for secure flights, new opportunities for citizens and businesses, a bigger number of flights and a broader geography of travels. We are starting a discussion on the renewal of customs tariffs and revision of the deep and comprehensive free trade area. We are also confidently moving towards the very essential agreement, the ACAA agreement, which we expect to sign as early as the next EU-Ukraine summit. We have also started a dialogue on the European Green Course. We are ready, together with the EU, to press ahead towards climate neutrality. We are grateful that the European Union has praised our achievements in fighting against corruption and completing and developing the judicial reform. This is indeed our unconditional priority. We have also launched the process of the oligarchization, which is the bedrock of corruption. We have enshrined the positive assessment of the EU on the approved legislation in today's joint statement. Besides, I would also like to thank the European Commission for allocating the second microfinancial aid package amounting to 600 million euros, which is a testament of high praise for Ukraine's progress in political and economic reforms and important support of our macroeconomic stability. Dear ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I had a conversation with Federal Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, and President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron. One of the key topics of the summit was coordination of the steps of Ukraine and the European Union in achieving peace in Donbass, in the east of our country. Together with the EU, we share an opinion that the Russian Federation is fully responsible for the absence of progress in peaceful settlement in Donbass, which, of course, is a party to the conflict, as enshrined in today's joint statement. We are grateful that the European Union, year by year, continues its restrictive measures against Russia. But actually, the need for strengthened sanctions is long overdue. The sanctions list have to include all persons who have taken part in the organization and holding of so-called elections to the Russian State Duma in occupied Crimea, Sevastopol and temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine in Donbass. We should not overlook also systematic violations of human rights in Crimea. An important step in this direction is the decision of the Council of the European Union on sanctions against 8 representatives of the so-called judiciary authorities of the occupied Crimea. We have also agreed to double our efforts for the release of nearly 450 illegally detained Ukrainian nationals in the Russian Federation. Ukraine has started implementing the strategy on deoccupation and reintegration of Crimea. The Crimean platform has become an essential instrument for consolidating international support and achieving this goal. I thank the European Union and the EU member states for taking part in the inaugural summit of the Crimean platform and support of its final declaration. This is a convincing proof that the EU will stand side by side with us until Ukraine's territorial integrity is restored. Ukraine is ready to cooperate within the EU's initiative on defining the year of 2022 as the year of European defense, since security of Europe is inextricably linked with Ukraine's security. Energy security is a prerequisite for the independence and national sovereignty of Ukraine. Because the Nord Stream 2 is opening new challenges for Ukraine in addition to the already existing ones. We have agreed to launch a strategic energy dialogue of high level between Ukraine and the EU. We should devise a common long-term vision of Europe's energy security. Dear friends, the joint statement that we have approved today as a result of the summit reflects the ambitious agenda between Ukraine and the EU. This document contains powerful signals in support of the territorial integrity and the dependence of Ukraine, as well as to Ukraine's integration into the political and economic area of the European Union. Today, apart from the Common Aviation Area Agreement, we have signed a number of other essential agreements, particularly on Ukraine's participation in programs Horizon Europe and Creative Europe. I am sincerely grateful to the leaders of the institutions for today's meeting. I appreciate the fruitful cooperation between us and our regular contacts. We are ready to press ahead together on the path to practical and foreseeable Euro integration steps, which have to be felt by Ukrainian nationals and businesses. We are confident in our common future. We see ourselves as members of the EU in this future, and therefore of the European family. I thank you for this wonderful summit. I thank you for support. Thank you once again. Statement by the President of
the European Council.
Zelensky pour votre accueil.
Thank you, President Zelensky. I would like to thank you for hosting us when I arrived in Ukraine last night. I wanted to go straight from the airport to the site of Babyn Yar to commemorate this atrocity, to witness for myself the horror of this tragedy, where thousands were killed, and this is a tragedy to be remembered. And this should serve as an opportunity of reminding society at large about the fundamental values of humanity and the value of human life. And this is our shared history, and this is something that could help unite our European family. This is something that we have discussed this morning. We need to all work to accelerate harmonization and rapprochement between Ukraine and the European Union in order to increase citizen involvement, and this will actually be very much assisted by the Common Aviation Area Agreement that we've signed today to expand student exchange programs and other joint activities. We share common values, and this is the whole substance of our commitments to promote a judicial reform and also to promote the well-being of the Ukrainian public. I would also like to emphasize once more how highly we appreciate and commend you and also your personal efforts. And it takes quite some courage to overcome those difficulties and hardships. It takes quite some willpower to push ahead down the path of reform. And within the framework of our EU-Ukraine Association, being the backbone of our discussions, and also in light of our joint commitment to strengthening cooperation in pursuit of the Green Deal to achieve carbon neutrality. And we've also spoken about digitization, which provides another opportunity of increasing the welfare of our citizens. And we are walking the walk as much as we are talking the talk. We have been supporting this initiative with financial commitments. It's something that we've also been discussing quite extensively, is the energy question, and it has an immediate and direct impact on the purchasing power of individual households, and it's also very relevant for companies, and it's also relevant amid geopolitical challenges, and we are ready to push ahead with our strategic dialogue around these subjects. We will continue working together in pursuing this agenda. The next important area is stability and security. And in this context, I would like to reaffirm our commitment and assure you that you can always rely on the European Union's consistent support. We condemn the unlawful annexation of Crimea and parts of the Donbass, and we would like to reiterate our support for Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. We will continue working multilaterally and bilaterally to preserve a world peace that is strongly and firmly rooted in respect for the rule of law. And you have the support of the 27 member states of the European Union, in particular as part of the Crimean Platform Initiative. We should mobilize efforts to strengthen security. We should develop a shared agenda to counter cyber threats, and we should continue this dialogue in cyber space. And I would also like to state in conclusion that our joint declaration sets very specific operational goals, which we'll be working towards over the next several months. It sets certain targets and charts the way forward for enhancing cooperation between Ukraine and the European Union, and also enhancing citizen involvement in this cooperation between the EU and Ukraine. We are all members of this big European family. 17,000 Ukrainian students took part in projects as part of Erasmus Plus last year alone, and this serves as very compelling evidence that this initiative is really working. 50 million individuals were allowed to travel to the European Union, and we have dramatically expanded our commercial cooperation, our trading relations. This is the product of both diplomatic and political efforts to promote freedom, to promote our ability to strengthen the rule of law and also increase welfare and the well-being of both sides.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Volodymyr, we have come as friends and as partners because we know that we share the same history, we share the same values, being convinced of the rule of law as our foundation, and I think we share the same destiny as one European family. And that's how friends and partners work together here, a partnership that is beneficial to you as well as it is to us. Ukraine can be assured of our steadfast support and commitment to its independence, its sovereignty, and its territorial integrity. And we continue to back the implementation of the Minsk Agreement fully. We commend Ukraine for its efforts. We support your position, your President's government's position fully. And we call on Russia to assume its responsibility as a party to the conflict. As a follow-up to the Crimea platform, we have sent our own personnel to southeastern Ukraine to get a known picture of it, so that they can see how to best address the needs of the communities affected by the conflict. With immediate aid, of course, but also with investments for the future. Healthcare, infrastructure, connectivity, civil society. An example, we will soon fund, for example, school buses, so that the children that are living at the contact line in East Ukraine can simply go to class. Very simple means, but an enormous effect for the better in the life of people there. Another issue on which we support Ukraine entirely is energy security. I understand your concerns, Ukraine's concerns about gas supplies in view of much lower gas deliveries from Gazprom. This is an issue not only for this winter, but also for the winters to come. And therefore the Commission, together with Ukrainian experts, is exploring right now different scenarios to secure sufficient supply for Ukraine. We will also work closely with you, with Ukraine, in order to increase gas supply capacity coming from member states of the European Union. And this also includes the option of working on arrangements to reverse the flow of an additional gas pipeline from Slovakia. And we are exploring together the possibilities of common storage, where there is a lot of room to maneuver for us, a room to explore for a very beneficial cooperation. In addition, as we have repeatedly stressed, the 2019 Gas Directive, the third energy package, fully applies to Nord Stream 2. For the Commission, what is clear is that Ukraine remains and must remain a reliable transit country. And there were other topics we've been discussing, for example, that Ukraine can also do things to improve its situation and its energy independence, as the best energy is the energy you do not use. Energy efficiency is a game changer. We have been discussing that. By improving the level of energy efficiency, Ukraine, if we are successful in that, would no longer need to import any kind of gas, would be independent and self-sufficient. Now, turning to our bilateral relationship, I'm very glad to see the progress we are making in a number of key sectors of cooperation. Today's summit showed it again with 3 new important agreements. We've just witnessed the signature of the Civil Aviation Agreement, Area Agreement, Horizon Europe and Creative Europe. These agreements crown a successful year when it comes to EU-Ukraine sectoral cooperation. Just this past year, we have stepped up our cooperation on raw materials, our dialogue on cybersecurity, and on the green transition via our high-level dialogue on the Green Deal. I also want to congratulate Ukraine on being among the first countries outside the European Union to connect to the EU digital COVID certificate system. So this is an enormous success, and congratulations on that. You were very fast, but you are excellent in the digital sector, so it was to be expected. All these different initiatives have one common purpose: the European Union and Ukraine growing closer as partners with a deeper integration of our economies. So how can we take our partnership to the next level? First, by Ukraine staying focused on implementing reforms. Ukraine has gone a long way, and I want to commend you, President Zelensky, dear Volodymyr, on that. I want to commend you on your leadership and the courage. I know how difficult it can be to push through reforms in the face of vested interests. So I want to clearly state that we will continue supporting Ukraine's efforts to see through major reforms. This entails reform of the judiciary, including the reform of the Constitutional Court, as well as fighting corruption and curbing the influence of oligarchs. It is impressive the way forward you have chosen and the motivation and the courage with which you are pushing forward the necessary reforms with your government. My second point is, how can we improve our cooperation and take it to the next level? By tapping into the potential of the association agreement. It still has a lot to offer. We've been discussing that. For example, in the digital area, Ukraine is very advanced in that field. We've been talking about that, and we can do more together. For example, by implementing the EU's 5G toolbox, Ukraine will move closer to the EU single market. And likewise, I know that there is high interest in deepening our cooperation in fighting disinformation. So we are ready to continue supporting your strategic communication capacities against foreign interferences, and I think we can learn a lot from each other and join forces in that field. And finally, let me emphasize that the European Union is also willing to step up efforts to increase trade, investment, and economic integration between us. Our deep and comprehensive free trade agreement continues to be a cornerstone of our relationship. A lot has been done, but I want us to remain ambitious so that both sides can reap the benefits. So let's explore what we can do more together. And this is not just about the relations between our governments and our administrations. It's at least as much about strengthening the Ukrainian civil society. Thank you so much.
Дякую, пані та панове президенти. Шановні колеги, журналісти, маєте можливість поставити кілька запитань. Радіо Свобода, будь ласка.
Добрий день, Зоряна Степаненко, Радіо Свобода. У мене питання і до президента України. I will translate in English just after my Ukrainian question to Ukrainian president. Отже, Володимир Олександрович, ви закликаєте Євросоюз надати Україні перспективу членства. Скажіть, будь ласка, чи обговорювали ви за зачиненими...
Can you please tell us if you have discussed prospects of Ukrainian potential membership, and if there is a timeline, what would that be?
I just would like to clarify about...
I want to ask about
Parliament to the EU they are waiting for the acceptance of the EU membership perspective. When can Ukraine also to precise that European Parliament sent you the same request with the acknowledging of Ukrainian EU membership perspective? Thank you.
Okay. Хочу подякувати.
Yes, I would like to thank you for this question, and where we just looked at one another and we smiled at each other with Mr. President. So actually we have discussed many important issues today, which we told you about in our speeches. And in conclusion, I told both presidents that I felt that our society and myself being part of this society and the country's leader, I lack an understanding of, yes, we are going down this path together, but where is the finish line, if it is there in the first place? We have very strong faith in this. We are doing all we can to bring this finish line forward. And I indicated that I thought that each Ukrainian deserves to be given this signal. It's important to feel this support. It's important to feel that there will come a point when this very important result will eventually be achieved, which is so important for each and every one of us. It is only fair, and I believe that it is only fair that this question should be addressed to President Michel and President von der Leyen. And regarding the doors being closed, as you expressed, I would like to assure you that we have no closed doors in discussing this agenda, and our society is very open to this. Thank you for your question. Thank you. We've actually discussed this, and let me, yes, quickly update you on our discussion of the continued rapprochement between Ukraine and the European Union, and we listened to one another, and there were solid arguments exchanged, and in particular articulated by Mr. President, and we agreed that we would seek a mobilization of discussions within the European Union. Let me reiterate the point that over the past several months we have seen this acceleration which has enabled us to connect our people to a greater degree, and there was so many activities and press conferences to that effect.
Here, as Ukraine is a sovereign and independent country, it perfectly is capable of defining its own political priorities. For us, it's very important. We are very close and we grow closer to each other. And this is a process. And it needs three different strands we are working on. The one is, of course, reforms. And here, but I want to repeat it, I really commend President Zelensky, you, Volodymyr, for the courage and the determination, the stamina to move forward the necessary reforms to the benefit of the country and the people. The second is the gradual economic integration. This is a strong force. It is a driving force because the closer you are economically, the easier the way forward is. And it is, of course, deepening the political association with the European Union. So the full implementation of our association agreement, the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, just to take some examples. Important is we are one European family, and as such we work together.
Україна 24, будь ласка.
Good afternoon, Ukraine 24. question to our European partners. There was a common aviation area agreement signed, but this document will need to be ratified by the 27 member states of the EU. Can you think of any country that could potentially offer strong enough opposition? Hungary, for example, there was this recent agreement signed for gas transited between Hungary and Russia, and maybe also the Netherlands could offer some opposition to ratifying this.
An aviation area agreement is signed. That is good. And the European Union and Ukraine will start immediately to apply it. So that means that European airlines and Ukrainian airlines will be able to fly between any airport in the European Union and any airport in Ukraine, vice versa, of course, without any restrictions. So this is the European Union, all 27 member states having signed the agreement together, zero restrictions, access to all the different airports. And of course, this is more than that. There is a very strong aviation rules we have now in common what safety, security, air traffic management and other topics are concerned.
Європейська правда.
Hello. I have a question to all sides. First of all, probably to the European one. We have heard that there are some ideas that the EU will use Ukrainian gas transit facilities and gas storage facilities. Have you discussed and have you pledged to Ukraine that this winter you would not only consider different scenarios, but you will also guarantee that if Russia blocks gas supply via Ukraine, Ukraine will not freeze? Maybe you have discussed some ideas that you will transfer a purchase point to the eastern border of Ukraine or some other different scenarios. And я також маю запитання до українського президента.
I also have a question to Ukrainian president. I do not have clear understanding what we expect from the EU as regards military mission. We heard about that from the European Union, but unfortunately we do not have details. Maybe you have discussed this during the closed meeting. What we expect from it will be the armed mission or police mission. Thank you very much.
A few words about this energy topic, and of course this is not new. We have on a regular basis a dialogue, exchanges of views.
If possible,
circumstances is very important and urgent to intensify our cooperation in order to make sure that we take Ukraine into consideration as an important transit country. It's an important priority, point one. Point two, we know that because of the Green Deal, in the mid-term, in the longer term, we'll count more on the renewable energy. But it means that in the transition, in the next years, it's important to clarify in order to try to provide more predictability. This is not an easy topic. We can understand. We can all see what are the geopolitical consequences, what are the geopolitical games also that are possible related to this energy topic. But to be more operational, to be more concrete, one information for you. We have decided to put on the agenda of the European Council next week this energy topic. Also in order to have a discussion, a political discussion with the 27 member states about how we will try to coordinate, to cooperate at the European level, because also in Europe there is a responsibility for the national governments, but it's also possible to see how we can have more added value if we cooperate more at the European level in a European perspective. And one of the topics that could be addressed with the colleagues at the level of the European Council, but also with our friends and partners, especially with Ukraine, is the question of the storage, the storage capacities of gas. And it's an important topic. For example, can you try to develop a coordination, a cooperation with Ukraine on this topic? It will be discussed with the European member states next week, and we will maintain a very intense channel of cooperation, of dialogue, of communication on this topic. And there are other concrete examples of concrete topics related to the energy sector that you have decided to address together in order to try to have the same level of understanding, the same level of information, and to see politically if it's appropriate, if it's a good idea, if it's efficient, if we decide to cooperate more in this field. But I think that there's a common goal in order to develop a more common approach on this important topic. This one first element. About the military cooperation, maybe a few words. Indeed, we think it's good if it's possible to strengthen also the cooperation in this field. I gave you the example of the cooperation regarding the cyber attacks, the importance to develop more common expertise based also on the experience in this country, because there are a lot of cyber attacks on a daily basis in this country, but this is also the same at the European level. But we decided, and this is the responsibility of Giuseppe Borrell, the High Representative, to send a mission with European experts. They came here a few days ago in order to meet with the Ukrainian side in order to understand better what are the concrete projects that we can develop together, especially in the field of the military education, the military training. And based on that, we will see with our Ukrainian friends, with the members of the European Union, what are the concrete projects that we can develop in order to strengthen also the ties in this field. And I had the opportunity during the meeting this morning to express our appreciation, our very strong appreciation for the participation of Ukraine in some European missions. And I gave the example of the mission, the Altea mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Is a good example of a concrete cooperation, and we hope that this meeting today is a good opportunity in order to boost the common projects also in the field of security.
Yes, on the question of the gas prices at the moment and the energy security. So first of all, what your question is concerned, the short-term contracts have to be served, and the gas supply with the gas storage, as far as I oversee the situation, is given. But of course we have to look ahead to the next winter and the winters to come. And here, together with the Ukraine experts, the European Commission is modeling different scenarios in the Joint Research Centre so that we develop a common strategy how we deal with different scenarios that might come up. And here are three topics important. First of all, of course, the global picture of gas supply, the different pipelines that are potentially there, and the transit fees that are so important for Ukraine. The second is, of course, gas supply security. That would, for example, include indeed a reverse flow, if necessary, from the European Union, for example, through Slovakia, who is willing to step up in this topic to secure gas supply also for Ukraine, if necessary. And the third topic would be to look into a strategic reserve, so the topic of storage. Overall, what we are working on together and developing with the different scenarios is independence, energy independence. That is for Ukraine as vital as for the European Union. So over the long term, it is smart to invest in non-fossil fuel energies to improve the supply of non-fossil fuel energies and to be able to have a better investment in energy efficiency, because with energy efficiency you do not use energy and not waste energy, so you can also optimize the energy supply this country has, and the same goes for the European Union.
Thank you. As regards Ukraine's energy security, we have discussed this at quite some length during the summit, and we devoted a significant amount of time to discussing this. Ukraine's security is the security of each and every citizen, each and every Ukrainian family. We have a very extensive energy efficiency program, and it's not only about thermal insulation for individual homes, and this program has been developed to a high level of detail, and we will be discussing this with our counterparts from the European Union. Ukraine needs some 300 million hryvnias to fund this energy efficiency program to replace those worn-out elements of the infrastructure, and we will definitely pursue this program and implement it, hopefully with financial support from the EU side. That will certainly facilitate its and speed up its implementation. But even without that, we will proceed to begin implementing this program come next year. We can't sit and wait because the neighboring countries threatening us with cutting off gas supplies completely. We must seek energy independence to a greater degree. It's not only about electricity. We've spoken at quite some length about nuclear power, and we will be expanding our capabilities. We brought back very substantial contracts from our meeting with President Biden. In particular, we entered into a contract with Westinghouse. Ukraine's energy independence is critical to us, but in any event, it is important for us to retain the transit flows of gas being pumped across Ukraine. To forgo 2 billion in revenue, that is legitimate revenue. It's not an attractive prospect, and we are quite appreciative of the danger of this. We've also discussed the possibility of applying the third energy package to Nord Stream 2 and a separate sanction policy that could be enforced in relation to Nord Stream 2. This is, in fact, it warrants a separate discussion. So, as regards the military mission, I would like to add to the words of President Michel that this is a training mission in the first place, and it is a mission to exchange and implement best practices from the European Union. I would like to use this opportunity to express my appreciation to Lithuania for spearheading this, and our discussion and the acceptance of this mission on the part of individual EU member countries, and the number of those countries keeps growing, and we are fully supportive of this initiative. Thank you, dear presidents. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your questions. Thank you.